June 22nd, 1941. The screen is filled with the hazy, golden light of early summer in the Baltic. It is a landscape of rolling green fields, dense pine forests, and dirt roads that have remained unchanged for centuries. The silence of the morning is absolute, save for the chirping of crickets and the rustle of wind through the tall grass. Then, the ground begins to tremble. Slowly at first, then violently, pebbles dance on the hard-packed dirt. The horizon is stained by a rising wall of gray dust that blots out the sun. The noise arrives a moment later, a low mechanical drone that deepens into a deafening roar. Operation Barbarossa has begun. 3 million men, 3,000 tanks, and 7,000 artillery pieces are surging across the border. It is the largest invasion force in human history, a tidal wave of steel designed to break the Soviet Union in a matter of weeks. Focus on the vehicles of the 6th Panzer Division. They are moving fast. These are not the heavy Tigers or Panthers that will define the later years of the war. Those do not exist yet. These are Panzer 35s, light, nimble tanks seizing the momentum of the Blitzkrieg. They are confident. They are undefeated. They have swept through Poland and France, and they believe this campaign will be no different. June 22nd, 1941. The Wehrmacht smashes across the Soviet border. Army Group North, under Field Marshal Wilhelm Ritter von Leeb, has a singular, piercing objective: drive northeast through the Baltic states and seize Leningrad. Leading this spearhead is the 4th Panzer Group, and at its tip is the 6th Panzer Division. The division is commanded by Major General Franz Landgraf, but the man orchestrating the tactical movements on the ground is Brigadier General Erhard Raus. Raus is a career Austrian officer, absorbed into the Wehrmacht after the Anschluss. He is a tactician of the old school, meticulous, calm, and obsessed with momentum. In the doctrine of Blitzkrieg, speed is armor. If you stop, you die. For the first 24 hours, the 6th Panzer Division encounters only sporadic resistance. They brush aside border guards and disorganized Soviet infantry. They are racing toward the town of Raseiniai. Their goal is to secure the bridgeheads over the Dubaisa River. The German crews are sweating in their wool uniforms. The heat inside the tanks is stifling, a mix of gasoline fumes, cordite, and unwashed bodies. They ride with hatches open, commanders scanning the tree lines with binoculars. They are making record time. But as the sun sets on the first day, the intelligence reports begin to change. The radio chatter becomes urgent. Reconnaissance units report contact not with terrified infantry, but with armor, and not the light T-26 tanks they expected. June 23rd, 1941. The 6th Panzer Division splits into 2 battle groups, or Kampfgruppen. Kampfgruppe Raus pushes straight for the river crossing north of Raseiniai. By the afternoon of June 23rd, they have achieved their objective. They have crossed the Dubaisa and established a bridgehead on the far bank. Raus is satisfied. His tanks are forward. His infantry is digging in. But the doctrine requires a secure supply line. Fuel trucks, ammunition carriers, and ambulances must flow freely from the rear to the front. In the early afternoon, a convoy of German supply trucks lumbers down the main road leading to the bridgehead. The drivers are relaxed. The front line is supposed to be miles ahead. Suddenly, the lead truck erupts in a ball of fire. The explosion shatters the calm. The following trucks slam on their brakes, tires skidding on the gravel. Drivers leap from their cabs, scrambling for the ditches. Through the smoke and the shimmering heat waves of the road, the survivors look up. Sitting squarely in the middle of the road, at a strategic choke point, is a single tank. It does not look like any machine the Germans have ever seen. It is enormous, a boxy, towering silhouette nearly 12 feet tall. Its turret is a massive rectangular slab of steel, resembling a barn mounted on tracks. The gun barrel protruding from it is short and thick, like a sewer pipe. It is a Kliment Voroshilov Model 2, the KV-2. The Soviet behemoth sits motionless. It is not camouflaged. It is not hiding. It has simply parked at the intersection, cutting Kampfgruppe Raus off from the rest of the 6th Panzer Division. The German truck drivers watch in horror as the massive turret slowly rotates. The mechanics are loud enough to be heard from the ditch. The coaxial machine gun chatters. Bullets tear through the soft skin of the Opel Blitz supply trucks. Windshields shatter. Fuel tanks ignite. Within minutes, the supply column is a burning wreck. The road to the bridgehead is closed. General Raus receives the report in his command tent. He is annoyed, not alarmed. A single tank blocking his supply line? It sounds like a joke, or perhaps a localized error in reporting. He assumes it is a suicide mission, a lone Russian crew left behind to cause momentary chaos before being dispatched. He orders a battery of 50mm anti-tank guns to move up and clear the obstruction. He expects the road to be open within the hour. He does not know that he is about to witness the end of the German army's technological superiority. The German anti-tank crews move into position. They are professionals, veterans of the French campaign. They unlimber their 5cm Paquet 38 guns, pushing them through the tall grass, utilizing the terrain to stay hidden. The Ww2 sits silently on the road. It has not moved since destroying the trucks. The German crews can see the Soviet tank commander's hatch is closed. The range is 600 meters, a perfect killing distance for the Paquet-38. The German commander signals, "Fire." 4 anti-tank guns fire in unison. The crack of the high-velocity rounds echoes across the valley. The crews watch through their optics, waiting for the explosion. They see the tracer flares strike the turret of the Russian Giant. Clang, clang, clang. Sparks shower off the Soviet steel. The rounds do not penetrate. They do not even dent the armor. They simply shatter against the 75mm hardened steel of the Ww2's turret, ricocheting harmlessly into the sky. The German crews stare in disbelief. These guns had punched through French Char B-1S, but against this monster, they are firing pebbles. Inside the Ww2, the Soviet crew is jolted by the impacts. The ringing sound deafening inside the steel bell, but they are alive, and now they are angry. The massive turret of the Ww2 begins to turn again. It moves with agonizing slowness, a hydraulic whine drifting across the field. The German gunners frantically reload, firing again and again. 8 hits, 9 hits. The Ww2 ignores them. It aligns its main gun, a 152mm howitzer. A weapon designed to destroy concrete bunkers, not tanks. The muzzle flash is blinding. The ground shakes as the 152mm high-explosive shell detonates near the German battery. It does not need a direct hit. The blast wave shreds the camouflage netting and flips the 2-ton anti-tank gun into the air like a toy. The crew is killed instantly by the overpressure and shrapnel. The Ww2 fires again and again. One by one, the German anti-tank guns are silenced. The survivors retreat, dragging their wounded through the wheat fields, leaving their twisted weapons smoking in the grass. The sun begins to set. The tank remains. General Raus stands by his half-track, looking at the map. The situation has escalated from a nuisance to a crisis. His battle group is isolated. He has no ammunition coming in for his forward tanks. He has no way to evacuate his wounded, who are dying in the field stations. The report from the anti-tank battery is chilling. Our rounds simply bounced off. Raus realizes he is facing a crisis of morale. His men have never seen a weapon they could not kill. If word spreads that the Russians have invincible tanks, the momentum of the entire division could stall. He decides to use the cover of darkness. The tank is blind at night. If shells won't kill it, mathematics will. He orders the 88mm flak gun, the famous 88, to be brought forward. The 88 is an anti-aircraft gun, but the Germans discovered in France that it is also the most lethal tank killer in the world. Its high-velocity shell can punch through anything. It is pitch black. The burning trucks have burned down to glowing embers. The silhouette of the Ww2 is barely visible against the stars. German crews struggle to move the massive 88mm gun into position. It is heavy, cumbersome machinery. They wrap the wheels in cloth to muffle the sound. They push it by hand, straining in silence, sweat dripping into their eyes. They must get close, within 500 meters, to ensure a kill. They creep through the tree line behind the tank. They are 800 meters away, then 700. Suddenly a twig snaps, a metallic clink of a bridge closing. On the Ww2, the turret rotates. There are no night vision optics in 1941. The Russian commander is likely listening, Or perhaps he just sensed the movement. The Germans freeze. They are still setting up the stabilizers. They are not ready to fire. A spotlight beam cuts through the darkness from the Soviet tank. No, just the sudden flare of the 152mm gun firing blindly into the noise. The shell screams over the heads of the 88 crew, exploding in the trees behind them. The concussive force knocks men to the ground. Panic ensues. The Germans try to aim the heavy gun in the dark, but they are under fire. The Ww2 fires its machine guns now, spraying the tree line blindly. The element of surprise is lost. The 88 crew, realizing they are exposed and targeted, abandons the gun. They scramble back into the woods, leaving the precious weapon behind. The monster owns the night. June 24th, 1941. The sun rises on a scene of frustration. The Ww2 is still there. It sits among the wreckage of the supply convoy and the destroyed anti-tank guns. Raus is running out of options. His forward tanks are low on fuel. The men are hungry. The wounded are suffering. The entire schedule of the 41st Panzer Corps is being thrown off by 6 Russians in a metal box. Raus calls for air support, but the Luftwaffe is stretched thin, bombing airfields deep in Soviet territory. He is on his own. He gathers his officers. They cannot go around. The terrain is swampy forest on both sides. The road is the only way. "We will try the sappers," Raus commands. A combat engineer unit, pioneers, volunteers for the mission. It is suicide, but it is the only option left. They will wait for the afternoon heat to make the Russian crew drowsy, then crawl through the tall grass and plant explosive satchel charges directly onto the tank's tracks and turret ring. It is a tense, agonizing approach. 12 men, crawling on their stomachs, inches at a time. The sun beats down on their backs. The grass cuts their hands. They can smell the tank now. Hot oil and ozone. They reach the blind spot of the tank. The Ww2 lacks vision slits for close-range defense. The pioneers climb onto the hull. They can hear the murmur of the Russian crew inside. They place the explosives, blocks of TNT bundled together. They set the fuses. They leap off and sprint for the ditch. Boom! A massive cloud of dust and smoke engulfs the crossroads. The Germans watching from the tree line cheer. Nothing could survive that. They wait for the smoke to clear. As the dust settles, the shape emerges. The tracks are damaged. A few links snapped. The fenders are bent. But the turret begins to turn. The charges were not strong enough. The armor of the Ww2 is too thick. The tank's machine gun opens fire, sweeping the ditch where the engineers are hiding. The Germans are pinned down. The tank is immobilized, yes, but it is still a fortress, and its main gun still controls the road. Raus is silent. He has thrown infantry, anti-tank guns, heavy artillery, and engineers at this single object. It has defeated them all. He realizes that this is no longer just a tactical obstacle. It is a psychological war. The Russian crew inside must be exhausted, deafened, choking on fumes, and terrified. Yet they refuse to surrender. They are buying time for their comrades retreating to the Dvina River. Raus devises a final, complex plan, a coordinated feint. He will send his Panzer 35T tanks, the light tanks that cannot penetrate the Ww2, to attack from the front. They will be the distraction. They will drive back and forth, firing their machine guns, making noise, drawing the monster's attention. While the Ww2 is distracted by the tanks, another 88mm flak gun will be towed into position from the rear, positioned perfectly for a shot into the back of the turret. It is a gamble. If the Ww2 ignores the light tanks and spots the 88, the gun crew will die, just like the last one. June 25th, 1941. The operation begins. A platoon of Panzer 35s emerges from the forest. They are agile, buzzing like angry hornets. They fire their 37mm guns at the Ww2. The shells ping harmlessly off the front armor, but the noise is tremendous. Inside the Ww2, the commander takes the bait. He rotates the massive turret toward the panzers. The 152mm gun tracks the moving German tanks. Behind the Ww2, quietly, the German tractor tows the 88mm flak into position. The crew unhooks the gun. They level the legs. They crank the elevation wheel. The distance is 500 meters. The view is clear. The back of the KV-2's turret is flat and vertical. The German gunner looks through the optics. He sees the rough welding seams of the Soviet steel. He holds his breath. Fire! The 88mm gun kicks back violently. The shell crosses the gap in less than a second. A direct hit. The shell strikes the rear of the turret. It penetrates. A plume of black smoke erupts from the KV-2. The German tanks stop firing. Silence falls over the crossroads. But the turret of the KV-2 does not stop moving. It is still rotating. Is the crew still alive? Or is it simply momentum? The 88 crew does not take the chance. They reload. Fire! A second shell slams into the hull. Fire! A third shell hits the turret again. The rotation stops. The machine guns fall silent. Smoke pours from the hatches. German infantrymen rise from the ditches, weapons raised, approaching the steel beast cautiously. They expect the hatch to open. They expect to surrender, but the hatches remain closed. 2 German soldiers climb onto the tank. They try to pry the commander's hatch open. It is locked from the inside. Suddenly, the turret begins to move again. Panic. The soldiers on the hull slide off. The 152mm gun is rising, aiming nowhere. A dying spasm of the machine. One of the German pioneers runs forward. He pushes a grenade through a hole punched in the armor by the 88mm shell. A muffled thud inside the tank. Then, silence. Absolute, final silence. General Raus arrives at the scene. He walks around the behemoth. He touches the cold steel. He counts the scars. There are dents from 37mm shells, craters from 50mm shells, scorch marks from the satchel charges, and finally, the 2 clean holes from the 88. He orders the tank to be opened. Inside, they find the bodies of 6 Soviet tankers. They had held their position for nearly 48 hours. They had halted an entire Panzer Division, destroyed a supply column, and engaged artillery, infantry, and tanks. They had run out of food and water, but not ammunition. The German soldiers do not cheer. They stand in respectful silence. They are soldiers, and they recognize courage when they see it. Raus orders his men to bury the Russian crew with full military honors. They dig graves nearby. On the wooden crosses, they do not write names, for they do not know them. They simply place the crew's helmets on the markers. The German division moves on. The war will continue for 4 more years. Millions will die. But for the men of the 6th Panzer Division, they will never forget the day they were stopped by a single tank. In memory of the unidentified crew of the Raseiniai KV-2 and all soldiers who stood their ground against impossible odds. Their names are lost to history, but their resolve remains a testament to the human spirit in the face of overwhelming machinery.